thank you very much, Tom, for coming along to join us and giving up some of your precious time to come and be part of our podcast series and our Tech Founder series. So thank you very much indeed. So I'll just hand over to Chad and we can get cracking.
Tom, it's a real pleasure having you on our podcast. So I really appreciate your time. I think we should open up by just you telling us what it's all about. Give us an overview. To be fair, a lot of people in the Southwest probably know you guys, right? Because it's a business that's it's an enviable business in my opinion. But just give an overview of the business for us and what it's all about.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So I'm Tom. I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders of Ultraleap, and we make technologies that enable you to interact with computers using your hands, so without actually touching anything. So we create two technologies. One is hand tracking. So this effectively takes the images from a camera and turns them into a 3D model of the hand. So exact bone and joint positions to sort of millimeter accuracy of exactly where your hands are and how they're formed. So the computer can interpret what you're doing and kind of like read what you're attempting to do with your hands. And then the other technology is what we call mid-air haptic feedback. So this uses sound waves, actually ultrasound, so sound that's too high frequency for you to hear. We project it through the air and onto your skin and vibrate the surface of your skin to enable you to feel what you're doing as well. So whether that is for interacting with controls, pushing buttons, flicking switches, you can actually sort of feel them right through interacting in virtual worlds, having some semblance of texture through to kind of the supernatural things you can't feel in the real world, like lightning blasting out of your hands or this kind of crazy stuff. Yeah, so that's what we make. And then we sell that into three different markets primarily. So XR, which is virtual reality and augmented reality, out of home, which is things like immersive advertising, theme parks, gaming arcades, and actually sort of also like kiosks and touchscreens in public spaces, and then also automotive, so the next generation of the interface for your car, how you control your music, your climate control, and such like in your next car.
Sounds amazing. So I guess one of the things that always, I mean, I've been to a few different of the sort of events that happen around Bristol. I know you guys are normally there with some of your technology. You can have a play with it, and it kind of blows my mind every time. So it's really cool. But I guess the thing for me is, I suppose what always intrigues me is, where does that idea come from, if you'd like? Because now you've done it, you kind of sit there and you go, well, yeah, that's obvious. That's a great idea. But the bit that always amazes me is before you did it, it wasn't there. So what made you think, right, this is going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of a bit of an odd one. So I started work on the haptics technology, and it was during my undergrad degree. So I did an undergrad degree in computer science, had to do a research project as part of my my final year. And I was really interested in how you design interfaces and how you interact with computers. You can sort of build the same thing and make it either a joy to use or horribly frustrating, just in kind of like how you design it, how you build it. And it was around the time where the Microsoft Kinect for the Xbox had just come out. This sort of camera you can place in your living room and then play games by jumping up and down. And we had one in our student flat. And it was really great when you're actually playing the games, everybody sort of jumping up and down and then sort of like watch them. But then you get to the menu screen and there's just two buttons on the screen. And everybody does these massive, like over-exaggerated interactions to go and press one of those buttons because you don't know where it is. Like it's on the screen, but how far away from you is it? Where do you press it? How do you know when you pressed it? It's sort of a bit uncertain. So you overcommit to make sure you definitely don't have to do it twice. So that was clearly a challenge because it's the first time you've had technology that lets you control a computer without touching it, sort of using your body and your hands rather than your voice. In the consumer world. Before that, it cost sort of $10,000 in a research lab, and now suddenly it's $150. And that's brought with it the first time that you don't have any feedback for the sense of touch. So even a touch screen, you can at least feel glass on the screen. So I spoke to a supervisor, a professor at university, and we were talking about different research projects and different ideas that I could work on. And he had this one for using ultrasound. Instead, you'll be able to feel the ultrasound. You can make ultrasound that you can feel. So right, okay, let's go and try and do that. So that's kind of what led to the research project that I worked on. And I have to say it didn't work terribly well by the end of the end of the research project, but it showed enough promise that that I then enrolled to do a PhD to get the technology working to well enough to a point when it could be spun out and turned into a company. So yeah, that's kind of the route.
That sounds good, Tom. And I guess just listening to you, and I suppose one of the questions that always fascinates me about things like that is obviously, yeah, university, then you kind of start building this product and you start, okay, well, this could be something. But is there a point actually through that journey where you kind of go, right, there's actually a commercial product here that we could monetize and go and grow something around? Or what is it? What was that? Almost in my head, you kind of sat there, light bulb moment goes off and you go, right, here we go. I've got a product, let's go and launch a company. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's challenging in some ways for a technology like ours because it's an interface technology. So you can apply it to almost anywhere where you want to control a computer, which means like coming up with initial ideas of like, hey, you could use it to turn on a light switch, or you could use it to do this or that or the other, and that sort of initial ideation is easy. Then getting that to okay, but what's actually going to be genuinely useful that people would pay money for, that's going to become real, I guess, in the real world. And actually, I think the PhD is almost the ideal incubator for this kind of technology development, because when you, particularly in the field I worked in, human-computer interaction, when you write up research papers, when you present them at conferences, you need to talk about the technology and what you've developed, but you also need to include in that kind of like what's the point? Like, where's the impact? So in those papers, you need to explain, here's the use cases, here's what you could use for it. So I had a few years of going around the academic paper loop and pitching my work to a lot of people in that space, that kind of honed and helped refine. Actually, yeah, maybe these ideas are not so great, but these ones are really good. And then that enables you to start talking to companies in that space, and you have meetings and figure out from their feedback, is this something they go, yeah, sounds nice, but we couldn't use it because of this, or is it something that they go, yes, we need this, it solves this problem. So yeah, that kind of actually led me to think like afterwards that I think PhDs should be used far more frequently for incubating technologies to become businesses and people who want to go and grow businesses, because well, academia is a pyramid. There's one professor, 5 postdocs, many PhDs. There's not a career path for everybody within that space. So I think there's a lot of potential there. That's something that I prattle on about to people when they'll listen.
I guess you have a massive support network around you in that environment as well, don't you, to be able to lean upon. But I guess, and where did you get your commercial acumen from, and how did you go from sort of doing your PhD to that light bulb moment going off, going, okay, look, there feels like there could be a product here, we're getting some interest, into then turning into sort of a startup and that initial part? And I mean, in my opinion, I mean, you're probably one of the better known tech businesses in Bristol that everyone is aware of, that looks up to. And if you went and spoke to somebody who was starting out today, they'd sort of go, wow, if we could kind of get half the success that Ultraleap have had, I'd be over the moon with that. And again, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm right, Tom, but this is kind of the first time in commerce, shall we say, as running your own business. And how have you done that? Because I think that's a massive, setting the technology to one side, being able to build this business to where it is today, and the feats you've achieved is impressive. And I guess, how have you gone on that journey? What are the good, the bad, the ugly, the lessons you've learned? It'd be great if you're able to share some of that insight.
Yeah, so I think the most important aspect at that point is to almost in some ways think less about the company and more about yourself, and really understand what you're good at, what you enjoy, and how you learn, like how you best learn. And for me, I've always learned best by being around people who kind of like know what they're talking about, as it were. So whether that was at university in peer groups or sort of in like other kind of settings, I kind of like to be around smart people who know what they're doing and almost sort of like absorb that knowledge and that information and learn through watching what they're doing and then kind of joining in and helping out. So that kind of sets up this view for me of the way I'm going to be able to learn, like through growing a company, the areas that I want is to hire in people who are really good in those areas, and then I'll get that kind of direct contact. And you can do it to a certain extent with mentors and like external advice, but you're sort of quite time limited there. If you've got somebody in the company who's really good at that thing, and they're there, you know, you spend an awful lot of time at work building a startup, and you kind of get that direct contact. So kind of a little bit of that combined with the fact that I really felt as a company we had this like sliding window moment where there's an opportunity for us to build a great company now that's not going to be around forever, and if we don't move really fast we're going to miss it. Like there's a train and we now's the time and we've got to catch it. So putting those two things together, I decided right from the beginning that I was going to go and hire a CEO who knew what they were doing. So I'd stay closer to the technology. I enjoy the commercial side of the business, but like you say, I'd never done any of it before. My sort of limit was a couple of enterprise modules at university and sort of a very, very small web design business that I sort of ran on the side through school and university. So yeah, that was kind of the thought, like let's go find somebody who knows the commercial side, who can sort of balance what I'm good at, be good in other areas, and sort of complement, and get them on full time into the company. So I went and spoke to one of the mentors at the incubator we were in. He found a few different contacts, but one of them said, you know, I think this could be the one. That turned out to be Steve, who's our CEO, and effectively what I did then was give him a year-long interview where you know, sort of started the company, started speaking to Steve fairly close after starting the company, and then after a few months was like, okay, yeah, he's the right guy. And then from then on we spent evenings and weekends building the business plan to go and raise our seed round of investment, which happened sort of about a year later, and then he jumped aboard at that point. So yeah.
So fairly exciting time, right? So we in talk, Carl and I have talked to a lot of founders recently, and what's obvious with yourself is that you kind of have at an early stage understood what your strengths and weaknesses are. There are a lot of founders that just go, do you know what, I had various hats and I juggled it to a certain point. It sounds to me that you set out right at the beginning to go, do you know what, I need a CEO. I'll need that straight away. So is that like your honest appraisal? You that type of guy where it's like, look, I know what my weaknesses are, so therefore I'm going to move away from that. Is that fair to say, and just do that, set that up straight away?
So. And that, like, so some of it was the fear factor of, you know, I'm going to go into this, and if I'm going to have to try and learn, honestly, like a lot of the technical stuff as well, because like I built the technology with other people in the lab, but I've never, you know, led a team of engineers in a sort of commercial setting. So you've got to learn all of that and the commercial side. You can learn through mistakes, absolutely. Some people like learn it yourself is the best route, but I just thought that's going to be really, really slow and would be a lot faster if I sort of like combined with somebody who can give me the instant answers rather than me having to Google everything or phone people and try and find things out. So there's a little bit of fear factor. A lot of the kind of knowing what I'm good at and where I can improve, and then that sort of factor of how am I going to learn the commercial aspect of this, and knowing that the way I learn best is finding smart people to be around. And so, yeah, having somebody like Steve here means that I can learn off of them super fast. Yeah.
Definitely. And
It's a little bit like you see a lot of entrepreneurs starting companies who come from a business, commercial, economics background, get the idea for a company, and then are looking for a technical co-founder. So they're sort of out there going, I need to try and find a technical co-founder. They've got the business idea, and it seems more often than not the business like the CEO has the idea and then goes and finds somebody who wants to join and be the CTO and build it. Whereas this is almost the other way around. Like I was the CTO and had the thing, and I needed a CEO to pair up with.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think you speak to the people who have built something that's impressive, and they all have similar advice to you. It's know what you're great at, and then surround yourself with people that are better than everything else than you, and it scales. But I guess one of the things I was intrigued to ask was, doing it that way, I'm sure, is a brilliant way early on, getting in a CEO early on, getting in all these great people around you who know what they're doing. But obviously that costs money. And I guess on day one, I'm sure you had lots of interest, but I'm sure the order book wasn't full, and you were fighting off people wanting to buy. So I guess that becomes then sort of, you mentioned sort of Steve helped you go out and get your seed investment. And I guess because people we speak to, there's kind of some people that obviously clearly go under bootstrapping till they get to a certain point of scale. Then there's other people as well then that will go down sort of raising investment initially early on. And I suppose it would be really fascinating, Tom, to hear your thoughts on that, and the thought processes you went through, and why you did what you did.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think, like you say, there are different approaches. So, you know, we went for investment early on. You can try and bootstrap, but a lot of that really, what the best strategy is, comes down to what is it that you're trying to build. The best thing about software, and you know, the grass is always greener on the other side, is that you can largely immediately build it and scale it for very low capital investment. If you're doing something like us, which is like deep tech, so you know, low level software development, higher level software development also needed, and like fundamental hardware design and the build of like physical things, that needs money. And we have to kind of produce our technology needs such a diverse range of skill sets. You've got from like I said, like hardware design, component design, you know, electronics, acoustics, physics, firmware, like low-level programming, software tool development, so sort of higher level, making like app development, right up through then, yeah, knowing what happens with the sound waves as they move through the air, how they in fact impact people's skin, what happens in the nervous system, how the humans perceive it, the sort of creative aspects. So like we just have a massive diversity of skill sets in the company, and like gathering that plus building hardware kind of means you're going to need some money to do that. And I guess to give you an idea of quite how much we did need that, so our funding journey was that at the beginning, the three co-founders, and we each stuck a little bit of cash into the company to get it out of the university, because we wanted to be a company, engage people as a company, and try and raise investment. So we did that to get it going. So we're very fortunate enough to be able to do that, primarily for myself, because I entered a business plan competition that the university ran, won first prize in that, which was, I think it was £15,000 prize, which is amazing. So then that goes into the company, and suddenly, you know, we've got a little pot of cash. That was enough to get us to CES in Las Vegas. The sort of, you know, what do you do when you've just started a company and put your first bit of money in it? You jump on a plane to Vegas. But the idea for that was exactly the, like, how do you evaluate the commercial, like the commercial potential? So we went and had meetings with a whole load of, you know, massive companies. I sat there just emailing the CEOs of like Fortune 500 companies, and I think all but one of them led to a meeting. So that was a pretty crazy experience. And we took or sort of invited somebody from an investor that we were talking to to those meetings. He attended, super helpful for us in the sort of that actual commercial aspect at that point, because no Steve here. But also he got to see firsthand how the meetings were going, and then sort of what the response was. And then after several of those meetings, sort of, I remember they left and he said, I was like, okay, what do you need? Like, clearly this solves a problem and people want it. So from that point, that firm, they invested on a convertible loan. So they put money in, but it was on effectively a loan that converts when we close the seed round. That was enough for us to build hardware that we can actually ship to customers. Because what we demoed at CES was a one-off prototype that we built in the lab. And we finished laser cutting the box that it went on at, I think, 1 a.m. on the day that we flew, and the glue was still drying in the overhead locker on the plane out there. And I think we built 3 of them and we blew 2 of them up because we were working with very little sleep for days trying to get it to work. And then the actual demo that we showed off, I think, finally worked properly for the first time about 45 minutes before the first meeting, with somebody one person back in the UK frantically trying to fix it remotely, and all the kind of usual like startup chaos. And yeah, had a lot of meetings, and almost universally everybody was like, yeah, this is really cool. Can I get a couple of these for us to play with in the lab? We're like, I'm not sure this is going to last the end of the show, to be honest. So yeah, that loan was right. Now we need to actually build it into a stable thing that we can ship to people, and they can load up the software, and there's demos and an SDK, and they can just do stuff with it. So we built that, signed up our first 2 customers, which were both huge companies, which was I was very proud of that. I actually managed to sell some stuff, which was good fun. And then sort of launched that evaluation program, shipped to those first 2 customers, and then that's when we went and pitched for the seed round, because at that point, rather than saying we've got this cool technology that people want, we can say, hey, we've got this technology, we've launched the evaluation program, we've sold to a couple of multi-billion-dollar companies. They've given us money. That's proved that that they want it. One of them's paid us to do some development work for them. This is real, and that helps with sort of setting the valuation for the company. So yeah, that was sort of the early funding journey, and why, just what we are as a business is the same as most deep tech companies. You need capital investment, so you need to get some money somehow.
So, money aside here, this sounds like an adrenaline-fueled roller coaster ride. I think winging it's not quite the right word, but there is like, but when you're on the plane and glue's still drying, it's like somewhere underneath all that, right, Tom? There must be like an element of faith. Like, what I like is understanding the mindset of individuals to go, the fail or success kind of thing. Was there any time in your mind where you were going, I must be mad, this is this going to work? Because there's got to be that self-perpetuating faith of like, no, don't worry about the glue, it'll dry, it'll be fine, everything, remain calm at all times. How was your mindset when all this was going on? Because that's an amazing story.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like every 5 minutes, is this a good idea? Yeah, like you never know. Like everything could blow up at any moment. This could all be over. Was it a waste of time? I had a job, like a good stable job. I had the offer, I had the contract before I decided to throw that away and go do my PhD and chase building this company. So yeah, you sort of, particularly in the early stages, think, this is the right idea. All my friends actually have jobs. They're getting promotions. They're getting paid. They've been in work for 3 years. I wasn't taking a salary at that point. I didn't get paid for working for the company until we closed the seed round. So yeah, plenty of doubt, plenty of nerves like that. But at the same time, it was really good fun. And you just think the kind of like the experiences of doing that versus sitting in an office and sort of what you learn from doing that. I always thought that it would be beneficial. I would come out with some value from doing that. And I remember actually at the time when I was debating, just finished my degree, should I go and chase this and do a PhD, or should I go and do the job? And I met somebody at a networking event, and I can't even remember for the life of me who he was, but he just said, go do the PhD. You're going to work for 60 years, probably longer, knowing like your generation. What's a few years of like building that base before you go and do that. So yeah, I kind of always had if this all falls over, I can go and do something else. So try to enjoy it as we go, as best as you can.
Sounds great story again. And I guess one of the things I'd love to know, I mean, I love the Southwest region. I love Bristol. You can probably tell from my accent. But I guess why is Bristol home? Why is that where the head office is? Because you kind of look at you guys and you kind of, if you were sat in London, nobody would bat an eyelid. Or again, if you would sort of sit yourself over in Silicon Valley, again, it is where you'd expect a company like you guys to be. So why here?
Yeah, so we debated a lot in the early days whether we should up sticks and move to California. That was the question. Does a company like this need to be in Silicon Valley to survive and to exist? And if you ask anybody in Silicon Valley, the answer is universally yes. Silicon Valley has a very good marketing, sort of like self-marketing, that everybody in the valley promotes the valley, and it is a great place. We have an office out there now and spend a lot of time there, or did pre-pandemic. But there's something quite unique and quite special about Bristol. It's got a kind of a blend of deep tech expertise. You have the aerospace industry here, you have the semiconductor industry here, you have a number of like big tech companies that have been in Bristol for a long time, and the sort of the Southwest region in general. You've got a lot of very smart scientists and engineers, and then at the same time, it's also got a really strong creative sector. And what we were trying to build is a deep tech technology that human beings use. Like it really is for whatever the product that incorporates our technology, our tech is quite literally the bit that touches the human, like touches the user. So that like creative side and understanding the human side is kind of just as important as the deep technology. And if you sort of look for places that, we're that kind of like 50-50 split, and Bristol kind of almost mirrors that. It is a bit of a 50-50 split between deep tech and sort of and creative. So so that seemed to resonate really well. You kind of feel like we kind of slightly match the city in many ways, and that means we're going to be able to draw on the resources and the people here. And then you sort of layer on top of that, Bristol's a really nice place to live. It regularly comes top of the lists for best cities in the UK for quality of life. It's kind of about the right size to have all of the amenities that you want, while also, you can cycle everywhere. Size-wise, traffic can be a pain. It's a nice place to be, and the sort of the culture that we wanted to develop within the company of hard work, innovation, sort of really good high quality work and output, and no kidding that success requires a lot of hard work, but at the same time, having a sort of a good fun environment where people treat each other well and value time not in the office and time actually looking after yourself and sort of repairing everybody as humans, so that when you come to the office you can kind of be your best, and just all of those things seem to resonate really well with Bristol. So we decided, right, we'll give it a go and see if it's possible, and if it's not, then we'll pivot and move somewhere else, and it's been possible, so we've just kept going.
And I guess, I mean, you guys have a pretty good or very good sort of employer brand in the region. Clearly, you've scaled and you're still scaling. I guess lots of people, I'm sure, including me, I guess would be really interested to know how you've kind of scaled the business so quickly, but still managed to kind of maintain those values you've spoken about, having that really good still in sort of employer branding, and people love you guys who work for you. So I guess I'd be intrigued just to get some insight into how you're doing that, and I guess any thoughts.
Yeah, it's very good question, because that is hard. Like, no bones about that. We've not done it perfectly, but I think we've done a pretty good job, and we are 100% still learning that. And I think the first key to it is actually proactively thinking about it, because in some senses it feels like it can almost be easy. You sort of set the culture at the beginning, and as the company grows, you need to evolve the processes and how structures work inside the company to get work done. And you need to do the same for your culture as well. But it can be easy to just assume that will just stick. Like, you had it, you are this type of company, and that will just remain. And it really, really doesn't. And particularly as you inject large numbers of people who are not from that culture. The times where we've sort of like doubled the company within 6 months or something, and so suddenly you've got half as many people who have no idea what the culture is as there are who like have been here a long time. That bit is it's hard. Then you add to that as well having setting up an office in California where time zones don't overlap. 9 a.m. there is 5 p.m. here, so and sort of even with a little bit of overlap there, you end up with sort of short days. So one of the things that we spent a lot of time thinking about is how lines of communication scale. So I actually have a formula for this, if I can remember it, which is if people are if you're going to spread information by one-to-one conversations. So kind of like what happened in the beginning, Steve and I would have a conversation, and I'd have a chat with Dan, one of the other founders, and he'd talk to one of the other engineers, and news spreads very easily when you're a team of 5. As you scale, those lines of communications do not scale linearly. They really hurt you. And if I remember it, the lines of communication is n times n minus 1 over 2. So number of people. So we now have 170 people at the company, and that is 14,000 one-to-one conversations. So if you've got a piece of news that you want everybody to just have a chat about, that's 14,000 conversations that need to happen. So people talking to people just doesn't work, and your culture's not going to just osmose through the organization, because just value number one, 14,000 conversations for that to happen. So the good thing, and that sort of it took us a while to sort of cotton on to this, is that the human race has somewhat solved this problem. They figured this out a long time ago, and they invented books and writing. You write something down, and one person writes it, and many people can read it. So you find those kind of one-to-many. It seems really obvious, but for some reason, myself and I know a number of other people growing companies, it doesn't necessarily seem that way while you're when you're scaling, at which point you need to bring it in. So writing things down, here's how we do stuff, here's how it works, can be hard to sort of get across the why we need to do that, and the sort of the momentum and the energy behind it. If you tell people we need to document all of our work, it's not going to happen. Documentation does not sound fun. But if you're talking about sort of communication and how we're going to scale, and then also actually writing down what the company values are and what the meaning behind them is, because I'll be honest, this is my first company, and I've done a couple of internships, but I've always seen company values. It almost looks like everybody does it because everybody does it, and what you do is you pick 4 words and you write them on a wall everywhere, and you say transparency, honesty, and these kind of things. Which, what does that mean? I don't know. How does that? What's the point of it? But once we got bigger, we started realizing, well, at least dawned on me anyway. Other people may have known before, but that the purpose of company values is that when you have people who've not been fully indoctrinated by the sort of Ultraleap way, or just, you know, we're encountering new challenges as we grow, and you don't have direct contact to me or to Steve or to like Ben, the other founders, you've got to make a decision on, well, should I do A or should I do B? And if you don't have this kind of hive mind of like, this is who we are as a company, all of those decisions get pushed up the management tree, which means everything goes slow and the management level just gets bogged down with answering every little question. So the purpose of values to give people that kind of steer to help them make decisions as they're going. So they get into a point of like option A or option B, like, well, our company value is this and that suggests this, so I'm just going to go and do that. Sometimes it'll be wrong, but 9 times out of 10, they'll make the right decision. They'll pick the right direction. So yeah, as those kind of like actually realizing that you need to write your culture down, you need to write down how you operate as a company, and then you need to repeat the message in every opportunity that you get so that it actually sinks home to people, and encourage them to go and look at it and go and read it and go and take it on board. So yeah,
that's very interesting. As we wind up, we're running short of time now. My big question then, Tom, for you is, would you have done anything differently so far? Come on, where were the mistakes? We want to know that it wasn't all plain sailing, apart from glue drying on an airplane.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd have looked back now at you know, yourself when you started out thinking, oh, do you know what? If I could go back now, I would have changed that.
To be honest, I find like that there's a million things that
Right.
that I do differently, and a lot of that is, you know, you execute on this piece of work, and then only when you finished, you find that, oh, that wasn't quite right, you should do it this way. And so a lot of that comes through that sort of enforced learning. The early stages, I'm sure I could pick, you know, a faster route to commercial success there or similar, but I probably wouldn't change a huge amount about the early stages, because they kind of have to be a little bit chaotic and you've got to feel your way. And I've tried not to like hold on to too many of those learnings too tightly for, you know, if I build another company in the future, I don't want to just try to replicate exactly what we should have done at Ultraleap there, because it'll be a different company. It'll have different purpose and values. But then the sort of the bigger lessons that I've almost found easier to learn have been as we've been scaling, as we've been building the company. So yeah, write things down earlier, would definitely 100% do that. We have a product management team that's set between business development and engineering, would have 100% have put that in place earlier. Just sort of like the push and pull between business development, we've sold this, and engineering, we need to build this. How you sort of manage that as both teams grow in size, would have done a better job there. Yeah, plenty like that. But in some ways, I think the scar tissue is what helps you. So you need to go and make mistakes, and you need to learn for your specific circumstances, I think.
Good. And then my final question, to put you on the spot, your one piece of kind of advice, your one bit of your golden nugget, shall we say, that you would give to somebody who is back where you were way back when in university, sort of wanting to embark on their PhD maybe, or feel like they got this great idea. What would your one absolute go-to piece of advice be?
So at that stage, my one piece of advice would be say yes. There's a pivot partway through the evolution of the company where if you're one of the founders or execs or leading the company, you need to pivot from saying yes to saying no. So at the beginning, say yes to everything. That's what opens doors. If you just have that mindset, that's what helps push you off the ledge and take that jump to go and, should I do the PhD? Yes. Should I start the company? Yes. This person wants to go for coffee? Yes. I want to go to this meeting? Yes. And just start building those opportunities and opening those doors. And then you get to a point where if you just keep saying yes, you'll never get anything done. So then you need to switch and basically say no to everything, and just say yes to sort of like a few things that come through. So yeah, at that stage, I'd just say yes to everything.
Brilliant.
That's us. That's brought us up to 12:15. Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure. It really has, just to get the insight into the mindset. I think values are really important in organizations. I think the common theme in our founder series has been just energy, enthusiasm, the yes factor, and it is the positive mindset. I believe. I think that's the way forward for most of people in your situation or about to embark on it. So we really appreciate you coming on to share your thoughts. Carl, any other words?
I don't think so. Just thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating to hear your journey, because obviously we've all been watching you from a distance and sort of looking on enviously, going, "Wow, there you guys are going from strength to strength." And I think I was really looking forward to today to kind of hear it from you. And yeah, so thank you very much, Tom. I've really enjoyed it, and hopefully all the people that listen to it will enjoy just hearing some of the snippets from your journey so far. And good luck for the future, because I'm sure you guys are going to continue putting Bristol on the map, which is brilliant.
Yeah, really well. Thanks a lot for having me. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks Chad, thanks Carl.
No worries.